The White House blame game. Huffington Post puts it this way: with Donald Trump's sweeping agenda hitting the rocks as he edges toward the 100-day mark, whoever came up with that, top aides, political allies, and donors are embroiled in a furious round of finger-pointing over who is at fault. That should be the easiest question to answer, political question. Easiest one to answer like ever. Who's at fault? For all these fuck-ups, who's at fault? His initials are Donald Trump, but I mean, anyway, it says the recriminations extend far beyond the implosion of the GOP's Obamacare repeal on Friday. Senior aides are lashing each other over their inability to stem a never-ending tide of negative stories about the president. Their inability to stem a never-ending tide of negative stories about the president. How about negative stories by the president? He's the one that sets this shit up. There is second-guessing of the Republican National Committee's efforts to mobilize Trump's electoral coalition on behalf of his legislative priorities. I don't know what that means. At the EPA, a top official quit recently amid accusations the department is failing to advance the president's campaign promises. So they're quitting because he's not gutting things fast enough. That's the thing that really, I mean, the irony here is so thick, you can't even walk through it. The irony of who it really was that killed the attack on Obamacare. It was not the Democrats. It was the Republicans. And it was the most conservative branch, the real rat-eating Republicans, the ones that are so far right they fall off the spectrum. They're the ones who saved Obamacare. And I mean, that is almost too goddamn funny for me. For 7 years, they've been trying to destroy it, gut it. Supreme Court upheld it twice. 60 times they brought up for a vote, defeated. On and on. Finally, the Republicans are in control of everything, and there goes that circular firing squad again. What a bunch of assholes. But the ones who really saved Obamacare, and we should all acknowledge this, the ones who saved Obamacare was the so-called Freedom Coalition, or whatever they're called. Huh? Freedom Caucus? Those are the ones who are so right-wing, they make Steve Bannon look like a liberal. And I just find that so reassuring. It reassures me that I've been right for 35 years. Republicans cannot govern. They just can't. They can't do it because their agenda is so goddamn narrow. Cut taxes on the rich, deprive everybody else of whatever social safety net still exists, deny the existence of science. That's about it. Jesus. One of Trump's most generous benefactors, Rebekah Mercer, never heard of her, has expressed frustration over the direction of the administration. Oh, poor baby. Really, Rebekah, you just don't like it? Why don't you go to the White House and just knock the shit out of your boy? You're frustrated over the direction. Oh, poor baby. Rebekah, is there anything we can do to lessen your feelings of frustration and angst and everything because your little Nazi Trump is just totally screwing things up? Anything we can do, Rebekah? This account of White House infighting is based on interviews with more than 24 Trump aides, confidants, and others close to his administration, all of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity because they do not want to face a firing squad. They described a distracting and toxic atmosphere with warring power centers blaming one another for an ever-growing list of setbacks. The dysfunction has further paralyzed an administration struggling to deliver on its blunt promise of wholesale change. Now, who's responsible for this? You know, they're blaming and finger pointing. It just goes back to Harry Truman's little desk motto, the buck stops here. Trump. Gary Cohn, the chief White House economic advisor, he went on Fox News Sunday to talk about the reform push, economic reform. And the media-obsessed president complained bitterly about the appearance, tweeting that Cohn failed to clearly sell the merits of the plan. Oh, he didn't tweet it, but according to 3 people familiar with the matter. A White House spokeswoman, Hope Hicks, denied that Trump had expressed unhappiness and said he had been complimentary of Gary's appearance. Sure, of course he was. For the new White House, nothing has been more frustrating than health care. Repealing and replacing Obamacare was one of Trump's signature campaign promises. No, it was one of Trump's signature campaign bullshit pieces. But the discussions surrounding the rocky weeks leading to its collapse generated an outpouring of ill will in the West Wing. Steve Bannon, Trump's chief strategist, privately singled out the more moderate Cohn, the economic advisor, for criticism, charging that he was too willing to make concessions to mainstream Republicans that repelled the hardline House Freedom Caucus. Others say the fault lies with the chief of staff, Reince Priebus. It just goes on and on. Still others pinned the blame on Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor. As White House staffers struggled to galvanize support for the flagging health care bill, some became convinced that Kushner was working to defeat the repeal effort. Suspicions increased when Kushner invited Obamacare architect Ezekiel Emanuel to address staffers at a meeting on Monday, a gathering that left some staffers rolling their eyes. Then, with the legislation teetering, Kushner left town for a 2-day ski trip to Aspen. It's a funny piece, is that at Huffington Post, White House blame game intensifies as Trump agenda stalls. Agenda? Trump never had an agenda. His agenda was lock her up. His agenda was his cute little fourth grade names for his opponents in the primaries, and then, of course, Crooked Hillary and all that. Ever heard anybody talk like that beyond fourth grade?